There was a time when fear ruled the land, when mothers would hold their newborn sons with trembling hands, knowing that at any moment soldiers could burst through their doors and take everything from them. This was the era of Pharaoh, a king so consumed by power that he believed himself to be a god. And, in his arrogance, he ordered the of every newborn boy among the but in the middle of that darkness, a child was born, a child whose destiny would shake empires. His name was Musa now. Now, imagine this scene, a mother heart shattered, yet filled with something unexplainable, standing beside her. River not because she wants to, but because she has to. Because Allah placed something in her heart that defied logic itself. Place him in the river, no plan, no guarantee, no safety net, just trust. And this is where the story becomes something deeper than history. It becomes a mirror. Because sometimes in life, Allah doesn't save you the way you expect. Sometimes He asks you to let go, to release control, to step into uncertainty. And when Musa was placed into that river, he wasn't drifting toward death, he was being carried toward destiny. The current didn't take him away from danger, it took him straight into the palace of the very man who wanted him dead. Pharaoh, the enemy, became the means of protection. The palace became the place of upbringing, and Musa grew up surrounded by luxury, power, and influence. Yet something inside him never fully belonged, because when your soul is tied to a higher purpose, no amount of comfort can silence that inner calling. And maybe that's something you felt too, that quiet discomfort, even when everything around you seems fine, because deep down, you know you were created for more. Years passed, and Musa became a man of strength, physically powerful, emotionally intense, and deeply aware of injustice. But one moment, one decision would change everything. Walking through the city, he saw a fight, one man from his people being oppressed by another. From Pharaoh's side, the cry for help reached him, and without hesitation, Musa stepped in. One strike, just one. But that moment of anger led to something irreversible. The man died. Silence filled the air, but inside Musa, a storm began. Regret, fear, realization. This is the part of the story people often overlook, the humanity of our Prophet. Not perfection in the way we imagine, but sincerity in the way he returned to Allah. Musa didn't justify his action. He didn't hide behind excuses. He said, "This is from Shaitan." And then he turned to Allah with a broken heart. "My Lord, I have wronged myself, so forgive me." And Allah forgave him immediately, completely. And here lies a powerful truth. Your mistakes do not define your response to them does. But life didn't pause for Musa to recover. The next day, the reality caught up to him. The same man was fighting again, chaos unfolding, and suddenly the truth was no longer hidden. Musa was exposed, fear returned, but this time stronger. He was no longer a prince, he was a target, and in a matter of moments, everything he had known disappeared. No home, no safety, no certainty, just a man running into the unknown. And maybe you've had moments like that too, when life flips without warning, when everything you built feels like it's slipping away, and all you can do is move forward without understanding why. Musa ran, not with a map, not with a plan, but with faith that somehow, somewhere, Allah would guide him. And after days of exhaustion, hunger, and lone lines, he arrived in a place called Madian. There, he saw something that would once again test his character. A crowd of men pushing to draw water, and two women standing aside, waiting helplessly. Musa, despite having nothing, chose to help. And that's what makes this moment powerful, because true character is revealed not when you have everything, but when you have nothing. He helped them quietly, without seeking reward, and then walked away to sit under a tree alone with his thoughts. And in that moment, he made one of the most honest duas ever spoken. "My Lord, I am in need of whatever good you send me." No long speech, no perfect wording, just sincerity. And that sincerity opened doors he couldn't have imagined. Soon after, one of the women returned, inviting him to meet her father, a righteous man who would offer Musa not just safety, but dignity, a place to stay, a role to fulfill, even a family to belong to. Musa, who had lost everything, was now rebuilding piece by piece. He worked, he lived, he married, and for a while it seemed like life had finally settled. But what Musa didn't realize was that this was not the destination, it was preparation. Because sometimes Allah rebuilds you quietly before placing a responsibility on your shoulders that will shake the world. Years later, while traveling with his family, Musa saw a fire in the distance, a small ordinary sight or so. It seemed he approached it hoping to bring warmth or guidance, but instead he encountered something that would change history forever. Allah's spoke to him, directly called him by name, chose him for a mission that no one would willingly accept, to return to Pharaoh to face the same oppression he once escaped. And this is where Musa's humanity shines again. He was afraid, he admitted it, he asked for help, he asked for his brother Harun to support him, and Allah accepted, because strength is not about pretending you have no fear, it's about acknowledging it and moving forward anyway. And so Musa stood before Pharaoh not as a prince, but as a messenger of truth. Pharaoh mocked him, threatened him, rejected him, but Musa did not back down, because when your mission is greater than your fear, you find you never knew existed. The miracles began, the staff turning into a serpent, the shining hand, but arrogance blinded Pharaoh's heart, and eventually it led to one of the most intense moments in history. The sea stood before Musa and his people, and behind them was an army ready to destroy them. Panic spread, we are finished, they said. But Musa said something that defines faith itself: no, my Lord is with me. And in that moment, the impossible became reality. The sea split, a path appeared, and Musa walked forward, not because he knew what would happen, but because he trusted the one who controls everything. But here is the part most people never reflect on. Even after the sea split, even after miracles were witnessed, the journey was not easy. The people complained, they doubted, they questioned, and Musa carried that weight, because sometimes the greatest tests are not your enemies, but the people you are responsible for. Leadership is heavy, responsibility is painful, and yet Musa remained patient, turning to Allah again and again. And when you step back and look at his life, you realize something powerful. This was never just a story about miracles. It was a story about transformation, about a man who made a mistake and was still chosen, a man who felt fear and still moved forward, a man who lost everything and was rebuilt stronger. And that's why this story matters to you, because somewhere in your life you felt lost, you've made mistakes, you've faced fear, you've questioned your path. But just like Musa, your story is still unfolding. Allah is still writing it, and the moments you think are breaking you might actually be shaping you for something greater. So don't let your past define you, don't let your fear control you, and don't think that you are not worthy of something bigger. Because if there's one thing this story proves, it's that Allah chooses people not because they are perfect, but because they are willing to return to trust and to keep moving forward. So now the question is not about Musa anymore, it's about you. What is the river you are afraid to let go into? What is the sea you are afraid to step into? And what would happen if you finally trusted Allah completely?